म्हणजे एखादा कुत्रा शेपटी हलवत असेल किंवा त्याने तुमच्या अंगावर जम्प केलं तर त्याला पॉझिटिव्ह समजायचं का नेगेटिव्ह समजायचं का काय, म्हणजे हाऊ डू वी नो?
बऱ्याच लोकांना सवय असते डायरेक्टली जाऊन त्या पेटला हात लावायची.
करू नये,
कधीही करू
असं डायरेक्ट डोळ्यात
नेव्हर
बघायचं नाही.
नेव्हर नेव्हर बिकॉज animals टेक इट as a डायरेक्ट चॅलेंज. Dobermans naturally don't have erect ears.
पण ते कापून करतात ना.
कापू नये, करणारे लोक कापतात, बट दॅट इज बेसिक, दॅट ऑल्सो अमाउंट्स टू क्रुएल्टी.
की तुमच्याकडे जर कुत्रा असेल तर तुम्ही डेफिनेटली एक चांगला माणूस असाल असं मी एक प्रायमरी तिकीट मी पर्सनली इश्यू करते. माय फ्रेंड टेल्स मी हळूहळू मी माझ्या कुत्र्यासारखी दिसायला लागते.
Male cats will caterwaul in response to the female's calls. Its ears will also be pointed towards the perceived source of sound.
मध्ये पुन्हा एकदा स्वागत आहे. मागच्या वेळेला आपण नवीन पेट आणला तेव्हा काय करायचं, काय गोष्टी करायला पाहिजेत, व्हायला पाहिजेत ह्याच्यावर चर्चा केली होती. आणि आज आपण बिहेवियरवर गप्पा मारणार आहोत डॉक्टर लेल्यांबरोबर.
हॅलो,
वेलकम टू द शो डॉक्टर.
थँक्यू.
आपण जेव्हा कुठलाही कुत्रा किंवा मांजर बघतो तेव्हा त्याचं वागणूक कशी असेल ही आपण कॉन्स्टंटली जज करत असतो. सो कुत्र्याला हात लावायचा की नाही, तो कसा रिॲक्ट करेल, हे सगळे मनामध्ये भीती असते. मांजरीबद्दल पण असते, कुत्र्याबद्दल पण असते. तर आपण आज डॉग आणि कॅटच्या बिहेवियर बद्दल बोलूया. काही फार ऑब्व्हियस गोष्टी, म्हणजे एखादा कुत्रा शेपटी हलवत असेल किंवा त्याने तुमच्या अंगावर जम्प केलं तर त्याला पॉझिटिव्ह समजायचं का नेगेटिव्ह समजायचं का काय, म्हणजे हाऊ डू वी नो की त्या एक आहे आपलं परसेप्शन त्या कुत्र्याबद्दलचं, मांजरीबद्दलचं, एक आहे त्याचं परसेप्शन ऑफ हिज बिहेवियर. तर ह्याच्याबद्दल आज तुम्ही आम्हाला सांगा.
निश्चित. बेसिकली आता तुमचा जो द डिरेक्शन ऑफ युअर क्वेश्चन बेसिकली की आपण जेव्हा एखाद्या नवीन कुत्र्याला किंवा मांजराला अप्रोच करतो तर आपण कसं, हाऊ डू वी एंटर इन टू द डॉग ऑर द कॅट स्पेस. आपण मागच्या वेळेला आपण असं बोललो होतो, आय डू बिलीव्ह दॅट एव्हरी ॲनिमल हॅज इट्स ओन रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ अ स्पेस. माणसाची असते तशी जनावरांची पण एक स्वतःची एक स्पेसची रिक्वायरमेंट असते. नाव द फर्स्ट थिंग दॅट यू शुड एन्श्युअर दॅट वेन एव्हर यू आर एन्काउंटरिंग अ न्यू पेट. बऱ्याच लोकांना सवय असते डायरेक्टली जाऊन त्या पेटला हात लावायची.
बरोबर.
आपण मागे म्हणालो होतो तसं द पेट रिअलाइजेस दॅट यू आर देअर. द पेट कॅन स्निफ यू फ्रॉम अ डिस्टन्स. सो द फर्स्ट थिंग दॅट यू डू वेन यू एन्काउंटर अ न्यू पेट, dog or cat or a new animal which is going to be potentially your pet, a dog or a cat, is basically allow the animal to make the first move. Be very relaxed around the animal. जनावरं जे असतात ना, dogs and cats, त्यांना भाषा समजत नसेल, but they are very attentive towards your body language and they are extremely attentive towards the pheromones that you release. So many times you must have realized की काही लोक असतात ना की some dogs they become very friendly with those people आणि तेच with certain people they are very reserved or restrained किंवा अचानक they start growling. That is also because of the fact की बरेचदा when people are not comfortable around animals they will release certain stress pheromones which the dogs can pick up very easily, very easily. So that is why you find that when you approach a new dog with some people, immediately the dog starts growling, starts backing off. So these are signs that means that the person is not very comfortable around the dog. Yeah. Whenever you encounter a new dog or a cat, like I said, let the pet make the first move. Okay. कुत्रा असेल तर तो येईल, तो तुम्हाला स्निफ करेल. ओके. तो तुम्हाला गेज करतोय की हा कोण माणूस आहे, हा काय प्राणी आहे, हा काय प्रकार आहे. राईट. सो लेट हिम डू दॅट. कितीही गोड वाटला कुत्रा म्हणून लगेच जाऊन त्याला हात लावू नका. डोक्यावर वगैरे कधी हात लावू नये.
असं करतात. एक्झॅक्टली. आणि मग ते कुत्रे
यू हॅव टू पुट युअर सेल्फ इन द डॉग्स पोझिशन. आपल्याला जर कोणी आपण खोलीत बसलोय आणि अचानक कोणी नवीन माणूस आला आणि तो आपल्या डोक्याला हात लावून म्हणाले काय रे कसं आहेस, वी मे नॉट लाईक इट, वी विल डेफिनेटली नॉट लाईक इट. राईट. सो लाईकवाईज डॉग्स ऑल्सो डोंट लाईक इट. लेट द डॉग मेक द फर्स्ट मूव्ह. यू गेज सर्टन बॉडी साईन्स दॅट द डॉग इज गिव्हिंग. आता ह्याच्यामध्ये महत्वाची गोष्ट काय असते की तो कुत्रा जेव्हा तुमच्याकडे येतो सगळ्यात आधी तर कुठल्याही अनोळखी जनावराशी नजरानजर करू नये, कधीही करू.
असं डायरेक्ट डोळ्यात बघायचं नाही.
नेव्हर नेव्हर. Because animals take it as a direct challenge. Right? Yes, they don't like it. So if you look at a dog or a cat or any predator for that matter directly in their eyes, then that is inviting an attack if the animal is aggressive, right? So you observe the pet, you see what is the pet's demeanor around you. ते किती relaxed आहे जनावर तुमच्या सभोवती किंवा तुमच्या भोवताली, how relaxed is a pet, that you have to gauge. आणि ते तुम्हाला कसं कळतं? तर पहिली गोष्ट म्हणजे कुत्रा असेल तर त्याच्या शेपटीच्या हलवण्यावरून तुम्हाला एक आयडिया आहे. If the dog is wagging its tail vigorously, that's usually a very friendly, excited dog. The dog is holding its tail up, but it's not really wagging it very vigorously, and it is wagging it very slowly from side to side. That means that there is something which has piqued its interest. पण त्याच्या काहीतरी गोष्ट आहे ती त्याला आता इंटरेस्टिंग वाटते. तो कसा रिॲक्ट करेल त्यांनी अजून तुम्हाला सांगितलेलं नाहीये. तो तुम्हाला गेज करतोय. ठीक आहे,
म्हणजे this is time to wait and watch.
This is time to wait and watch. A dog which starts wagging its tail usually means that it's a friendly dog, but even then let the dog approach the first time around.
Understood.
Once he is friendly around you, then you can ask the owner for his or her permission की ह्याला इथे हात लावलं तर चालेल का, तुमचा कुत्रा कसा आहे. आमच्याकडे एक जर्मन शेपर्ड होता जो आम्ही अडॉप्ट केला होता एकाकडनं. ते आम्हाला नेहमी आमचे नेबर्स विचारायचे की हा चावतो का हो डॉक्टर. त्यांना सांगायचं मलाही माहित नाही, बघा हात लावून, तुम्हालाही कळेल मलाही कळेल. So jokes apart, basically let the dog make the first move. Okay. दुसरी गोष्ट म्हणजे ना त्यांची इयरचं जे कॅरेज असतं, कानांचं जे त्यांचं कॅरेज असतं, दॅट विल ऑल्सो टेल यू अ लॉट अबाउट वेदर द डॉग इज रिलॅक्स्ड ऑर नॉट. इवन विथ अ कॅट तुम्ही तुम्ही जर नॅशनल जिओग्राफिक वरती वगैरे जर तुम्ही जर हे वाईल्ड अॅनिमल्सचे पण जर तुम्ही नाही टवकारलेले कान असतात म्हणजे ही इज अलर्ट. इफ इट्स अ डॉग and the ears are raised, it means that there is again dog or cat. Raised ears means he is alert. And both the cat and the dog can move their ears through 180 degrees, right? ते त्यांचे कान independently हलवू शकतात, आपल्यासारखं नाहीये. So if the ears are pointing towards you straight up, that means that the animal is alert to your presence. Okay? The कान वर आहेत पण थोडेसे रिलॅक्स्ड आहेत, अगदी वर टवकारलेले नाहीयेत. The carriage of the ears is little on the middle length, sort of. It's not flat against the body, but it is, a little down and a little relaxed. Then you know that now the animal is relaxed around you. And if the animal puts its ears behind, holds it flat against its body, right? Head, आणि कान मागच्या बाजूला गेले, that means now that the animal is not at all comfortable around you. This is an animal which may bite.
पण आता माझ्याकडे बीगल आहेत किंवा कॉकस स्पॅनियल, त्यांचे कान एवढे खाली असतात की तुम्हाला ते काही गेज नाही.
पडक्या कानाच्या कुत्र्यांचा तो थोडासा प्रॉब्लेम येतो, तुम्हाला तितकं सहज गेज करता येत नाही. पण
डॉबरमन और समथिंग,
डॉबरमन्स नॅचरली डोंट हॅव इरेक्ट इयर्स.
पण ते कापून करतात.
कापू नये करणारे लोक कापतात, बट दॅट इज बेसिक, दॅट ऑल्सो अमाउंट्स टू क्रुएल्टी. डॉबरमन्स आर नॉट नॅचरली डॉग्स विथ इरेक्ट इयर्स. इरेक्ट इयर्स मध्ये तुम्हाला स्पिट्स व्हरायटी, स्पिट्स इज अ व्हरायटी. त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्हाला पॉमरेनियन पासून सायबेरियन हस्की मध्ये सगळे येतात. ओके, दॅट इज अ व्हरायटी. तसेच हर्डिंग डॉग्स जे असतात, हर्डिंग डॉग्स मध्ये तुमचे जर्मन शेपर्ड्स, बेल्जियन मालनवा, आता ह्यांचे कान नॅचरली इरेक्ट असतात. दे आर नॅचरली इरेक्ट,
ट्रायंगल शेप मधले असतात
अँड इरेक्ट. द कॅरेज ऑफ द इयर्स इज इरेक्ट. ओके, डोबरमन्स, ग्रेट डेन्स, even your beagles, cocker spaniels, they have got flatter ears, right? पडक्या कानाचे कुत्रे असतात. पण त्यांच्यामध्ये सुद्धा इफ यू आर कम्फर्टेबल ॲट गेजिंग द डॉग, यू कॅन मेक आउट की तो कुत्र्याने कान स्वतःच्या शरीराला दाबून धरलाय का ही इज मोर ऑर लेस कॅरिंग द इयर्स इन अ न्यूट्रल पोझिशन. ते कान टवकारलेले कळतात. तर इयर कॅरेज झालं, त्याच्यानंतर तर जनरल डिमिनर ऑफ द डॉग. म्हणजे आता जो एक्साइटेड कुत्रा असतो ना, तुम्ही शेपूट हलताना बघता कधी कधी अख्खा कुत्राच हलत असतो. When they are extremely excited.
Pee sometimes. Right? They pass urine at
times. Peeing of dogs happens when they are super excited, and that usually happens when they are very young. हे तुम्हाला ना with age they gain more control over their bladder sphincters, so they will not urinate as easily. कधी कधी काही कुत्रे तरी पण urinate करतात, but that's usually rare. By the time they are about a year old, most dogs will not urinate when they see you out of excitement. Okay? मांजरांचं कसं असतं ना, मांजरांमध्ये तर बाय डिफॉल्ट यू हॅव टू ऑलवेज अलाव द कॅट टू मेक द फर्स्ट मूव्ह. एक गोष्ट मांजरांबद्दल लोक सांगतात की यू नेवर पिक अप अ कॅट, द कॅट पिक्स यू अप, राईट? द कॅट डिसाइड्स आय एम गोइंग टू बी युअर पेट, सॉर्ट ऑफ बेस्टोज अपॉन यू द ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी टू बी इट्स ओनर. That's how it goes with cats. With dogs, it is a little different. You can definitely go pick out a dog, right? मांजरांमध्ये सुद्धा कानाच्या ह्याच्यावरून तुम्हाला खूप काही कळतं. मांजरामध्ये होता होईपर्यंत कधीच अनोळखी मांजराला डायरेक्ट हात लावू नये. मी तुम्हाला लास्ट टाइम म्हणालो तसं की मांजरं जी असतात ना, दे विल फर्स्ट कम, दे विल शो देअर बिकॉज दे हॅव डिसेंडेड फ्रॉम प्रिडेटर्स. मांजरं, cats generally, they are more in sync with things around them as compared to dogs.
अच्छा.
म्हणजे जर तुम्ही जुन्या शिकार, ब्रिटिश टाइममध्ये जे शिकार अनेक्डोट्स जर तुम्ही बऱ्याच फेमस हंटर्सचे वगैरे वाचले असतील, इन केस जिम कार्बेट किंवा केनेथ अँडरसन यांचे जर तुम्ही एक्सर्प्ट वाचले असतील, सो दे वर व्हेरी क्लिअर इवन अबाउट सेटिंग अप मचांड्स. लाईक इफ यू ऑलवेज सेट अप अ मचांड, okay, before you decide where to put an animal as bait for a man-eater or something like that. Because anything that is different, they are so observant and they are so in sync. तुम्ही बरेचदा बघितलं असेल, तुमच्या घरी जर मांजर असेल आणि तुम्ही एखादी नवीन गोष्ट आणली, मांजर लगेच येऊन आधी जाऊन ते इन्व्हेस्टिगेट करतं की काय गोष्ट आणली. बिकॉज दे आर व्हेरी मच इन ट्यून विथ एव्हरीथिंग अराउंड देम, राईट? सो यू अलाव द कॅट टू मेक द फर्स्ट मूव. ओके, very rarely it will happen that your cat will just accept you, yeah, and will jump in your lap. You will be very lucky if that happens, okay? And then might even sit contentedly and start purring very loudly. Amongst different types of cats, it has been, there are studies that prove that ginger cats, right? Ginger tabbies, lal color cha manjari with stripes, they are more outgoing by nature as compared to, torties or calicos.
Achha.
Yeah. Torties and calicos are also outgoing, but not exactly. They're more fiercely independent as compared to ginger tabbies. So ginger tabbies usually are more friendly cats. Okay. So if you're a first timer and you get a chance to pick up a cat,
that's the one.
You would normally want to go in for a ginger tabby. More often than not, in cats, unlike dogs, male cats make better pets as compared to female cats.
Oh.
They're more self-assured.
Achha.
They're less fractious. I mean, if you've seen again wild videos, the lions rarely do the hunting, right?
Right.
It's the lionesses which are all the time hunting. So female cats also tend to be more, fiercely independent as compared to the male cats, who are more, like I said,
self-assured. More of a matriarchy going on.
Sorry, you can say that. Definitely, you can say that. But basically, they're definitely fierce feminists. You can say that, right? But the male cat tends to be more self-assured. He will be more outgoing. And he will more or less have less tendency to be aggressive as compared to female cats. Okay. That is not to say that you will not find exceptions, but more often than not, if you're a first timer, decide to go to a shelter to pick up a cat, okay? Because unlike dogs, most of the people who pick up cats will pick them up from shelters. Breed cats लोक आणतात, पण बरेचसे लोक कमी प्रमाणात आहे. जनरली मांजरांमध्ये
unless it's Persian,
it's a Persian cat. Again, the misconception is any long-haired cat is a Persian. That's not really true. आपल्याकडे any long-haired cat passes off as a Persian cat.
I kind of. I'm one of them.
We
don't know the.
Exactly. So classical Persian cats have got a very flat face, like a dish, right? That's चपट्या नाकाच्या असतात, right? What is usually passed off as a Persian can usually be called off as a domestic long-hair variety. These are not really breeds, they're mostly varieties. So you've got domestic short hair, which is your regular, cat nowadays, they call it Indie cat, yeah? But that's a domestic short hair.
Okay.
And then the long haired one is your domestic long hair. These are the two basic varieties in
This
cats.
is the basic difference we do in grooming. Long hair and short hair.
And the funny thing is, since you bring up grooming, so longer the fur of the cat, softer will be the hair quality of the cat.
Achha.
Okay, the finer is the hair diameter of the individual hair follicle. So you'll always find long-haired cats have got softer fur as compared to the short-haired ones. So their hair tends to tangle also quite regularly.
Right.
Now, if you're looking to buy a cat with long hair, then you have to then factor in the fact that you will have to basically groom the cat on a daily basis so that the hair doesn't tangle. Because tangling causes a lot of discomfort to the cat, and it also causes a lot of chances of the cat's hair getting infected or the skin underneath getting infected by trapping moisture, right? So आणि मग त्या tangles मधून जेव्हा तुम्ही जर उद्या ग्रूम करायला गेलात तर you automatically pull the skin and it becomes very painful for the cat. So that is one more thing that you need to factor in when you're going to pick up a cat. if you have the time wherein you will be devoting say about 5 minutes of your day every day to groom a cat, then you go in for a long haired cat. Yeah.
ओके सो आता आफ्टर मीटिंग अ डॉग फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम, पण मी कधी कधी असं बघितलं की आधी तो कुत्रा येतो, तो तुमच्याबरोबर इंटरॅक्ट करतो आणि मग तो ग्राउल करायला लागतो.
Right.
तर व्हॉट इज दॅट, म्हणजे हाऊ डू वी एस्टिमेट दॅट?
So again, like I said, since they've descended from their wild ancestors and they've been domesticated over so many years, but they have not given up on their, on their wild traits, you can say, or they've not really given up on their natural instincts. What happens is, like I said, they are all the time gauging your body language. How comfortable are you around the dog? When somebody enters a room, there are other reasons. Like we normally get growled upon because the dog probably doesn't even figure out what kind of animal has walked into the room. This guy smells of dog, cat, human being probably somewhere in the mix of it. Wears a mask. Yeah. So that is very disconcerting to the dog. But generally what happens is sometimes people tend to be apprehensive. I'll tell you a very funny anecdote, and it's a real anecdote. So my mother had this colleague, she was very scared of dogs. So one day what happened is she went to somebody's house and they had a German Shepherd. And she was sitting next to the German Shepherd, okay? And the German Shepherd was like sitting upright and he was just there. So her husband mentioned to her after 5 minutes, all your life you have said that you have been shit scared of dogs and here you are sitting with a German Shepherd. She said, is it a real dog? I didn't know. The dog was and she had a panic attack after that, right?
My God.
So now what happens is if you are wary around the dog will immediately realize that something is off. If you are not comfortable, then you can't expect the dog to be comfortable. Imagine आपल्याकडे जर कोणीतरी चुकीच्या इंटेन्शननी जर आलं असेल, unless they're really good at masking it, more often than not, there will be some telltale signs and then you will be on your guard, right? You will say की हे काहीतरी नॉर्मल नाही वाटत, हे काहीतरी गडबड आहे. So likewise, the dog is also trying to gauge you all the time की यांचं वागणं कसं आहे, हे कसं आहे, हे फिजिट करतायत का, हे का घाबरतायत. And then like I said, dogs can sniff. They say dogs smell in 3D, right?
Achha.
Yeah.
Oh.
So if you're cooking 3 different things and make it a stew, आपल्याला वास येतो की काहीतरी छान शिजतंय.
त्यांना ते 3
They can individually smell each and every variant, right? I'll tell you a funny thing. So there is research that proves this. की तुमच्या कुत्र्याला बरोबर कळतं की यावेळेला तुम्ही येणार घरी आणि त्यावेळेला ते बरोबर दारापाशी येऊन बसतात, तुमची वाट बघतात, राईट? सो नाउ देयर इज रिसर्च टू प्रूव्ह, राईट, दॅट वेन यू लीव्ह you've left your scent in the air, right? And what happens is over a period of time the scent is reducing. When it reaches a certain level and if you come in at that time, usually around that time when your scent has reached a certain level, the dog realizes that when the scent reaches this level is when my master is likely to come in.
Oh, acha, it's dependent on that.
On the scent that has been left behind. Like when you've left the house, there's a lot of scent.
असं नाही की त्याला माहिती आहे तुम्ही येणार.
त्याला तुमची वेळ नाही माहिती आहे, पण त्याला कळलं की हा या पॉइंटला तो जेव्हा सेंट येतो ना, आता माझ्या मास्टरची यायची वेळ झाली. सो दॅट इज हाऊ सेन्सिटिव्ह देअर नोजेस आर, राईट? ब्लडहाउंड्स आर ॲट द व्हेरी uppermost end of the scenting thing, smelling thing. But most dogs have got a fantastic olfactory system.
Even these beagles, na, काही झालं की आधी असं असं करून
longer the nose of the dog, what happens is better the sniffer it will be. कारण तिथे ऑब्व्हियसली की जितकं त्याचं लांब नाक आहे ना, तेवढं ते इट विल बी दॅट मच मोर सप्लाइड विथ ब्लड वेसल्स अँड दॅट इज हाऊ इट कॅन स्निफ आउट मोर थिंग्स, राईट? तर ते तसं कुत्र्यांमध्ये असतं. मांजरांचं कसं आहे की स्निफिंग इज नॉट सो मच ऑफ अ थिंग फॉर कॅट्स, दे आर मोर ऑब्झर्वंट. Cats have got a fantastic sense of sight and fantastic hearing.
अच्छा.
हां, आमच्या घरी मांजर आहे, झोपलेलं असेल, तुम्हाला वाटेल की ते ॲब्सोल्युटली झोपलंय. यू ओपन द फ्रिज आणि एखादा प्लास्टिक रॅपरचा आवाज येतो, त्या मांजर टन म्हणून तुमच्या शेजारी बस. सो देव गॉट फॅन्टॅस्टिक हिअरिंग, फॅन्टॅस्टिक साईट. So they are looking at you, they are very observant, and being predatory by nature, no, they like to observe everything about you. So that's how they've made up a mental picture, image of what you are, right? They're constantly, imaging you, trying to gauge you. That's how cats are. That's why they are so observant. And anything that moves attracts a cat. You might have seen sometimes.
Also, there are toys also have say tangling,
yes,
moving, असे वाले असतात.
That is one thing. Plus, you might have sometimes seen that cats in front of the television, watching the television for hours. because there's something moving on the screen that catches the cat's eye.
It does? Do they actually?
What they understand is difficult to say, but they understand motion and they see that there are things moving around.
आणि मांजरीची शेपटी त्याच्याबद्दल काही आहे का, जसं कुत्र्याच्या शेपटीवरनं?
मांजराच्या शेपटीवरनं पण तुम्हाला खूप काही अंदाज घेता येतात. अनलेस यू हॅव अ कॅट विदाउट अ टेल, राईट? देयर आर सम ब्रीड्स ऑफ कॅट्स लाईक द मँक्स. नो, इट्स नॉट क्रॉप्ड. दे आर बॉर्न विदाउट टेल्स.
अच्छा.
मँक्स म्हणून एक व्हरायटी येते, त्याच्यामध्ये ब्रीड आहे, त्याच्यामध्ये इट इज अ टेललेस कॅट.
अच्छा.
ओके. बट जनरली मांजराची जी शेपूट असते ना, इफ अ कॅट इज रिलॅक्स इट विल होल्ड इट्स टेल अप.
ओके.
अँगोरा कॅट समटाइम्स होल्ड इट लाईक अ क्वेश्चन मार्क.
Okay.
And the झुपकेदार शेपूट असते, it looks like it's a question mark, right? Cats, if they are relaxed, like I said, they'll hold their tail up. If they are faintly interested in what is going on, then the tail will wag very slowly. Sometimes only the tip of the tail wags. Okay?
Achha.
The rest of the body is just observing you. They are frozen in frame. The only thing that is twitching is the tail tip. Okay? The cat is angry with you, then you will find की ते शेपूट ऍक्च्युअली फुगते.
केस
उभे राहतात.
राईट. ओके.
केस उभे राहण्याचा अजून एक प्रकार आहे हॅकल्स बिंग रेज्ड, आपण ज्याला म्हणतो. मानेवरचे केस. इफ द डॉग इज नॉट कम्फर्टेबल अराउंड यू, दॅट इज अनदर क्यू दॅट यू कॅन गेट.
सो माझ्या कुत्र्याचे फिमेल जी माझ्याकडे आहे तिचे बरेच वेळा इथले केस उभे राहतात.
हो.
सो दॅट्स बिकॉज शी इज नॉट कम्फर्टेबल.
शी इज नॉट कम्फर्टेबल. शी इज स्ट्रेस्ड आउट ॲट दॅट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. दॅट इज वाय हर हॅकल्स आर रेस्ड. त्याला हॅकल्स म्हटलं जातं. मानेवरचे जे केस उभे राहतात.
Right.
And if that is happening and if you still try to impose yourself on the dog, then you might get bitten. Or you might invite a behavior which you may not like.
पण मांजरीचे रेग्युलरली
शेपटीवरचे हॅकल्स नाही.
अच्छा.
मांजरांवरचे हॅकल्स रेज, इट्स व्हेरी डिफिकल्ट टू गेज अ कॅट विथ रेज हॅकल्स अनलेस द हेअर इज व्हेरी स्टिफ. ओके. जनावर लहान आहे त्याच्यामुळे तुम्हाला दरवेळी लक्षात येईल, नॉट नेसेसरी. बट टेल फुगते, जाड होते. यू कॅन मेक आउट, यु नो. प्लस द कॅट विल show you in its demeanor that it's not relaxed. Its कान, like I said, will go flat against its head and they will be pointing backwards usually. That means that the cat is not at all comfortable around you.
And what about the meow? म्हणजे ते जसं म्याव म्याव म्हणजे ते चांगलं आहे, वाईट आहे?
So an interesting fact is that cats started meowing to communicate with human beings.
Is it?
Yes.
एकमेकांशी करत नाहीत ते.
Cats don't meow when they're, you know, when they're communicating with each other. No, you don't
Is
say
it?
okay, no, they don't. But
even dogs don't, or dogs
dogs
bark
never
at each
meow
other?
any which way.
नहीं bark. When dogs bark, there is a communication.
Well, dogs do communicate through barking. Okay, dogs do communicate with barking of many different types. Okay, there can be a short, excited bark. There can be a yelp sometimes if they are in pain. There can be a howl. Some breeds tend to howl more than others, especially तुमचे जे hunting breeds आहेत, hounds आहेत. So a howl is basically a form of long distance communication for dogs, right? It has again descended from the wolf ancestor. It's what can be defined as a call to arms. So when the wolf pack decides now is the time to go hunting, you'll find that a wolf howls. So all the wolves have to be ready. It's like calling everybody, come on now, we've got to get into this activity. So how does a dog communicate with some dog which may be say 2 kilometers away? It will start howling. It's a long distance kind of communication.
So when my female was on heat, my male dog used to howl.
That can happen because of anxiety sometimes. Yeah, that can happen because of anxiety, probably. In that case, I think it would be primarily anxiety driven or extreme excitement driven. Wherein the dog then goes back to its feral form, you know, and it starts howling. Yes.
आणि मांजरीचा म्याव मग काय ते एकमेकांबरोबर करत
मांजरी एकामेकाशी कम्युनिकेट करताना म्याव नाही करते, हिस, they snarl. Most of their communications are non-verbal, right? They will show multiple signs, right? Two cats that like each other, you know, you might have seen that with a pack of lions, pride of lions. You will find that two cats, when they like each other, they'll come and rub each other's faces against each other. They are leaving their scent mark on their chins, right? That is one way of reinforcing the bonds before going for a hunt. That's what lions do. Or they do that. But they don't meow. So meowing has been developed, and you will find that cats can actually meow. So there is research that shows that the meowing of a cat imitates the cry of an infant.
अच्छा.
Of a baby, right?
Barabar.
If a cat is meowing, it feels like a little child which is crying, right? and that has
But then it has been picked up.
that is evolution. So that stirs inside you those motherly feelings, because it automatically makes you feel like what you would have felt for a child which is crying.
माय गॉड, आय डिडंट नो दिस. दोन मला प्रश्न अजून विचारायचे
ठीक.
की काही लोक असतात ज्यांना कुत्रा चाटला तर आवडत नाही. माझ्यासारखे लोक आहेत ज्यांना मला खूप आवडतं माझ्या कुत्र्याने मला चाटलं किंवा मिठ्या मारल्यावर. तर माझं जे प्रेम दाखवण्याचं जी पद्धत आहे की यू किस अ डॉग, यू हग अ डॉग, तर त्यांची काय पद्धत आहे आणि व्हेन अ डॉग लिक्स, हाऊ डू वी इंटरप्रिट इट?
Well, generally now let us take this question. I would like to answer this question in two parts. Okay, first from the dog side and then from the human side. Okay, dog side, what happens is generally you will see that in the wild, again this is a throwback to its wild ancestry. In the wild, what happens is the entire pack goes hunting, and usually there's one adult which is sitting inside the den with the puppies, or the puppies of that particular pack, whether they are cubs or whether they are pups, wolf pups. The hunting pack, when it comes back, there is this frenzy that time. Okay, and these puppies will come out and they'll start licking the faces of the adults of the returning pack, and many a time this incites regurgitation of partially eaten remains of animals that the pack has consumed. And this is then eaten as food by the pups. So many a times you will find even nursing mothers reach a point between say 3 to 6 weeks when they start actively regurgitating food for their puppies.
Right.
So this goes back to that point wherein the dog feels like you are the mother or the parent that is coming back, and they lick you because this is a throwback to that time. So there are two
So
things.
it is affection.
It is affection for the dog. Many people try to sort of, think of it as a scenario wherein the dog is being selfish, wanting you to feed it. But I would not think like that. It's basically the most primal and the simplest form of, adoration that results into regurgitation. But that's what it is. And then it continues. So in a way, the dog basically thinks of you as a parent. It feels that level of comfort with you when it does that.
So if my dog doesn't lick me, he doesn't feel that for me.
That is one possibility, unless your dog is not well, which we will also deal with later.
Yes.
The other point is, now coming from the human point of view, again, well, it's not necessarily the healthiest thing to allow your dog to lick you on your face for obvious reasons. One is you don't really brush the dog's teeth on a regular basis. And dogs and cats, their saliva sometimes can incite allergies, plus the infection in the mouth can sometimes cause infections. So it's not the healthiest, it's not the best habit. Even when you are deworming your dog regularly, but the dog is a dog, it will have a penchant to pick up things that you think your dog should not be picking up.
Yes.
So there is always that risk. So this is not something that should be encouraged very regularly, especially when it comes with kids and dogs. Kids might end up getting serious infections, from
पण
the
हाताला
dogs.
वगैरे चाटलं
हाताला वगैरे चाटणं, that is
ते
what.
peculiarly इथे चाटेल, किंवा असे
There is a
काही.
funny thing. Dogs can also pick out, abnormal odors emitted by different portions of the body. Like there are dogs, their sense of smell is so exalted, I should say. It is so exalted that they can actually pick up the smell of cancers. They can detect cancers.
I've read. Is it true?
It is true. It is true.
Oh.
Right? They can pick out even diabetes because they probably smell the ketones on your breath.
Oh.
And if you find a dog is paying more attention to a particular part of the body, it looks normal to you.
Oh.
It can sometimes mean that there could be a problem over there. It's emitting odors that are not, you can't perceive them, but a dog can.
But medically आपण असं काही नाहीये की कुत्र्यांना स्निफ करून
Nee, there is research going on wherein they want to use dogs for these things. They are being used for a lot of, like I said, cancer detection and all that.
Wow.
A lot of studies going on. Yeah.
जसं ड्रग डिटेक्शन साठी वापरतात.
They use them for drug detection. They can also, predict seismic activity.
Oh.
Because they feel the tremors in the ground, no? So they can feel seismic activity. They can also realize when a thunderstorm is coming. So dogs have got, like I
I
said.
have noticed my dogs are happily sleeping in bed when there is thunderstorm. त्यांना काही फरक
You sure you have got dogs?
पडत नाही. आणि मांजर देर इज नो लिकिंगचं कन्व्हर्जन मांजरीमध्ये.
Cats do lick. It's not true that cats don't. Sometimes cats do lick out of affection. They do that. Like our cat, sometimes when she is in extremely playful mood, she will lick you. If she really feels secure or motherly towards you, then she will lick you. Cats, it's usually the other way around. They lick when they feel motherly feelings towards the person. You know, they don't feel necessarily a motherly feeling towards the person, as in they think it is the mother and you are the child. So cats usually do that, okay? In fact, cat's tongue, the upper surface of a cat's tongue is like sandpaper.
It's rough.
It is rough, it's like sandpaper, you know. And exactly the opposite is true for the under surface of the tongue. It's as soft as butter paper.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
पण आता उलटाचं काय, म्हणजे मी माझ्या कुत्र्यांना मिठी मारते किंवा मी त्यांना पाप्या देते, तर हे त्यांना आवडतं का? त्यांना कळतं का की हे आय एम डेमॉन्स्ट्रेटिंग लव्ह?
To a certain extent, yes, okay. They don't necessarily realize that it is your way of demonstrating love, but and they are comfortable with you, they are okay with that kind of affection. That is why you don't do it with an unknown dog. With your own dog, it is fine because now it has allowed you entry into its personal space. It doesn't mind. But even with your own dogs, like I've got these 4 dogs. Of the 4 dogs, one of them really loves this, right?
Oh.
The female is the most lovable of the whole lot. So the minute you go there, you know, she will immediately and sometimes she start licking you. To such an extent that she'll lick you all over, right? The males, both of them are very different. One of the males basically will only allow me and my wife generally to cuddle him. The other male, even with me and my wife, he is it is up to him whether he at that point of time feels the necessity for you to express that kind of love with him or not. So it's all very variable. It's not necessarily true that just because it is your dog, it is going to enjoy that. Right. A lot of it, they do have personalities like people have personalities.
This I've realized.
No 2 dogs are the same. No.
Distinct likes, dislikes, food habits, everything is different.
Very different. And coming to that also, you know, when you've had dogs all your life, many times, you know, people lose a dog and then they want to keep another dog. But never try to replace one dog with another dog. Understand that they are all individuals. They'll get their own things into your life. Don't try to think, you know, sometimes people try to match. And then when it doesn't come up to their expectations, they tend to neglect. I've had a dog like that, you know, when it did not come up to the owner's expectations, they sort of lost interest in the dog. But
I think the only thing any dog does to you is bring in a lot of love.
That it does. It gets your better side out, right?
Yeah, and I think I've seen with children, with, you know, generally family atmosphere, when there is the dog, people are more, I have started believing की तुमच्याकडे जर कुत्रा असेल तर तुम्ही डेफिनेटली एक चांगला माणूस असाल, असं मी एक प्रायमरी तिकीट मी पर्सनली इश्यू करते
स्वतःला.
नाही, लोकांना, की तुमच्याकडे कुत्रा आहे म्हणजे एक higher possibility of you being a good person.
It means something. It would mean that you have now reached a point wherein that is what it should mean. Now you could care for somebody who is going to be a dependent. And if you can share that space in your heart for somebody like that, that should mean technically that you are a better person. Yeah? But that being the case, since you bring this up, if you have a dog, you're a better person. The nature of the dog also can reflect the nature of the family in which the dog is. You'll rarely find a placid, quiet dog in a family that goes hammer and tongs at each other.
Right. So तुम्ही 101 Dalmatians film पाहिली असेल, तर त्याच्यामध्ये the owner and the dog are very similar in terms of looks and also in terms of behavior.
Right.
So असं आहे का पण म्हणजे ते रिफ्लेक्ट करतात? My friend tells me हळूहळू मी माझ्या कुत्र्यासारखी दिसायला लागते.
That many people do believe that, but
that fellow has picked up my expression.
Unless both of you are binging on the couch, then there is a very good possibility that may happen.
But we used to tell Harish this की बिरबल looks like you. तो त्यांनी तुझे सगळे एक्सप्रेशन घेतलेत आणि तो ते किंवा तू त्याचे घेतले.
But that happens because the dog is observing you. It's trying to align itself with your this thing, you know, your emotions, your feelings, how you interpret things. So the dog is in sync with your emotions, and that is the reason you will find that the dog will mimic your behavior over a period of time. But that being said, you know, it's a surprising thing we find in practice. Many a times lifestyle diseases are reflected, you know, in your pets also. If a person suffers from a particular problem, many times it is reflected in the dog uncannily.
जसं मी तुम्हाला मागे म्हटलं होतं, नेपोलियनचं वजन वाढलंय, माझं वजन वाढलंय, so you said you are eating and you are giving him. on
Yeah.
boundaries. One last question on behavior. Sometimes these dogs sing
Yeah.
or they listen to music.
Yes.
किंवा मांजरी रात्री रात्री ओरडतात. तर
Okay.
त्याचं इंटरप्रिटेशन
मांजरी रात्री ओरडणं आणि कुत्रे ओरडण्यामध्ये खूप देर इज अ
Difference आहे.
कम्प्लीट डे नाईट
Okay.
डिफरन्स इन दॅट राईट
Okay.
अपार्ट फ्रॉम द फॅक्ट दॅट बोथ ऑफ द थिंग्स हॅपन इन द नाईट युजली cats calling out in the night are usually calling out to seek mates,
अच्छा.
and that's a very peculiar kind of calling. It's known as caterwauling.
Okay.
It's very different from the regular meowing that you'll hear.
Okay.
Now that's a very loud kind of a noise that carries over sometimes even a few kilometers.
Okay.
And that's really a cat calling out for prospective mates.
अच्छा.
If it's a male cat or a female cats will usually caterwaul when they are in heat, the estrus period of the cat, which usually happens every 2.5 to 3 months. So they
Acha.
will do that, right?
अच्छा.
Male cats will caterwaul in response to a female's calls. Because what happens is in the animal kingdom, because it's usually the female with her limited period, the breeding period being limited to that time when she is in estrus, it's the female who gets to decide when she would want to mate. So it's usually the female that starts seeking out the male first. And that is why the female will call out to the male first, and then the male will respond. Okay? Because male cats are perpetually in a position to mate with female cats. Okay. So that is one thing. Lions and tigers sometimes they roar to announce their dominance over a particular territory or to ward off intruders. Now roaring is very different, and roaring is unique only to large cats, big cats. Cheetahs cannot roar.
अच्छा.
Okay, there is a modification of the larynx of the large cats that allows them to roar in decibels that you and I cannot reproduce. In fact, tigers are supposed to roar even in infrasound. So there is a very interesting anecdote. I'm digressing a little. There's a fantastic anecdote about this hunter who was hunting a man-eating tiger. He was sitting in the jungles of, somewhere near Nalamala Hills, okay, Andhra Pradesh. This particular tiger, before it came, he could hear the crickets chirping very loudly. And then, before the tiger announced its entry by roaring, say a few minutes before that, or for 5 minutes before that, good 5 to 10 minutes before that, the crickets, they stopped chirping. And then suddenly the forest went uncannily quiet. Then after that, when the tiger came, the tiger was there, the hunt was not successful. After some time, he could not. This was all happening in the night, right? After some time, the tiger leaves, but he can't see the tiger. But something tells him that the tiger is no longer in the area, and then he realizes subconsciously that the crickets have started chirping.
Again.
So when he put this question after the hunt was over and the man-eater was, taken care of, this is from the 50s or 60s. So he posed this question to a professor. I'm quoting this thing, when he posed this question to a professor of zoology from the then Madras University, he was told that tigers can actually roar that causes vibrations in the earth, and that can be picked up by these insects. So that happens when the tiger roars in infrasound. Infrasound is not audible to the human ear.
Right.
Okay, and that is why sometimes primitively your hackles will be raised when you see animals like that. So that is why they see sometimes, now we are digressing, but an interesting thing, when the tiger, they say, can paralyze its prey before it has actually, even sees them, because of the infrasound which tells the prey that there is some predator around. So it feels the rumble of the earth, of the sound. Infrasound can travel through people for kilometers. Elephants communicate with infrasound. They make these rumbling sounds in the stomach, and they communicate with herds kilometers away, because infrasound can travel kilometers.
आणि हे राहिलं आपलं डॉग्सचं सिंगिंग.
Okay, now
Singing and music
yes.
relation.
Now singing of the dog would be something like a dog responding to a high-pitched howl. So it's exactly the same.
Okay.
Singing or also, loud musical notes, you will usually not find dogs responding to lower notes. This kind of singing or howling with the person who's playing loud musical notes usually is accompanied when the person strikes the higher octaves. And this is very similar to howling. So I'll tell you an interesting interesting thing that used to happen in SPCA when we were in college. So there was a time in the morning at around 9 o'clock when they used to play sirens. And these sirens used to go off. And every time the siren used to go off, all the dogs there kept in the shelter would start howling with the sirens. They were basically thinking of that sound as a howl.
पण अशी मान अशी करून
Oh yes, they do that. They do that. That may not necessarily. That's because the dog is curious. It's trying to gauge what is happening. Now, some dogs have this very funny habit of cocking their heads onto one side. When they look at you, it is very appealing to us. Makes you sudden. But the dog at that point of time is just trying to localize things. Okay, it does that. Now with a flat-eared dog, you may not realize that. With a dog with erect ears, when it does that, its ears will also be pointed towards the perceived source of sound.
Great. So we've had a lovely conversation on good behavior of dogs.
Right.
पण सगळेच कुत्रे आणि मांजर चांगले वागत नाहीत. समटाइम्स द बिहेवियर इज
True.
बॅड. इट सरप्राइजेस अस.
Right.
तर त्याच्यावरती पण आपण चर्चा करूया पुढच्या एपिसोड.
नक्की.
बॅड बिहेवियरवर आपण चर्चा करणार आहोत पुढच्या एपिसोडमध्ये.